What if 95% of your business was fueled by referrals? Today, Lindsey Jacobs shares how she has done just that. As well, we unpack her Instagram strategies and staying in contact with clients. Now, before we get started, if you're curious to learn more about the Inner Circle group where you can hang out with all the past guests, go ahead and follow the link in the description below. And as always, I'm your host and San Francisco referral partner, Shawn Kunkler. Lindsey, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm super excited. You told me earlier that 95% of your business is referral. And then you also said, which I love the way you said it, you said you spoil your clients. But before we talk about all of that amazing stuff, in a couple of sentences, can you share with me who are you and what do you do?
Yes, I am Lindsey Jacobs. I have been a real estate agent basically my whole adult life. I got licensed when I was 19 in the summer when I was in college, which was a child. So I work on a team with my mom, and she started when I was 16. And I just, did the grunt work, mailers, walk-arounds, all that kind of stuff with her starting off. And then when I was 19, she called me when I was in college and was like, hey, do you want to do this full time when you graduate? I'm like, Mom, I have no idea. I'm 19. So thought about it and decided, yes, this is what I love and definitely what I want to do. So came home from college, got licensed, and never looked back.
That is incredible. I would love it if the two boys would join me in real estate. I just think
Yes.
it would be super
Oh,
fun.
I know. Now I need one of my three to join me so that we can carry on the tradition.
That is so cool. And so I want to go back to the point where you said you spoil your clients, but I want to rewind in your
Mhm.
business trajectory of when that component started to get added in and how it evolved.
So we definitely always have done marketing and a lot of marketing. I mean, we had billboards, we had a moving truck. So we kind of put ourselves out there everywhere that we could.
Mm.
But I think the referral business just started naturally happening after, just like with anything else. You treat your clients right, you do a good job for them. They're going to tell someone, they're going to come back and use you again. So we definitely had a lot of referral and repeat business early on. But we started doing client events. Like my mom would host an event at her house. And I think people loved coming. They loved seeing where their agent lived and just getting to know us on a more personal level, I think sort of set us apart from just being the real estate agent to being their friend. And I think people liked coming to the events that we would host throughout the year and just getting to know us. So that, and then we would tell them to bring a friend too. So if they didn't want to come by themselves, it was awkward, they didn't know anybody, then they could bring someone. And then we're meeting their friends. So then they're like, oh, well, we might be buying or selling a house, and felt like they felt comfortable using us too. So I think that sort of helps snowball the referrals early on too. And then the
I think
more
that
events we did, we just kind of wanted to keep trying different things. And now we do quite a few things throughout the year, but we usually try to do one big client event every year.
it's I feel, and especially having so many conversations with agents, events in that personal,
Hmm.
we're face to face, we're having a good time, we're doing this activity, this thing together.
Hmm.
That's the differentiator that's going to separate everybody moving forward, especially after this whole the commissions debacle.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it makes it so much easier to have those conversations with someone who already knows you and trusts you
Yeah.
versus a stranger off the street or an internet lead, because they don't know who you are. I mean, you have to try to sell yourself to them versus if you're talking with a friend or a past client, someone who really trusts you, they know what you're talking about, they know you're looking out for their best interest, and it just makes the whole process a lot easier for everybody.
I agree. I mean, it's, I always liken it to if one of my best friends was like, oh my God, there's a new barbecue place down the street. You have to try it. It's the best I ever had. The service is
Hmm.
phenomenal. Like immediately, I love my friend. I trust them fully. And so immediately I'm like, okay, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And it's like that, that resistance is
Hmm.
completely gone because they've given me so much context around that experience that
Absolutely.
it's like greasing the slide. Like it's
Hmm.
already you're halfway there at that point.
Yes, it does. It makes it a lot easier. I mean, you're not like trying to dig up new business every single year and start from scratch. I mean, as realtors, we always start from scratch, but knowing that you have a database of people to network with who trust you has definitely been very beneficial.
Um, I have two questions that are
Mhm.
bouncing in my head, so I'll just fire one
Sure.
then the other. But how many events do you do in a year? Is the first question.
So, and it kind of varies. We don't always stick to the same thing every year, but I would say probably seven, eight, somewhere in that window. And there's some are small. Some might be with like 25 people. Some might be with 50 or 100. So it's not necessarily like massive events all
Yeah.
year long, but it kind of
That's
varies.
awesome. And it's funny that, again, in talking to the top producing teams who consistently crush it
Hmm.
every single year over year, in doing this podcast and talking to these amazing agents, they're typically doing about 8 events a year. And to your point, they vary in size. Like
Hmm.
some are like over the top, huge events, and some of them
Hmm.
are just simple, quick, very low cost. It's just FaceTime.
Yeah, and I think inviting them, even if I know they're not going to come, I think just the fact that we're inviting them to these events keeps us top of mind, as
Hmm.
opposed to just
Hmm.
sending out like a monthly email blast that is boring and they're probably getting 100 emails that say happy holidays. We try to say like, okay, we did a Barbie night, like a movie, outdoor theater. So even if you don't have kids, I mean, you might have grandkids, or you might want to bring your nieces and nephews, or something
Yeah.
like that. So sometimes they're very random, but a lot of the ones we kind of stick to that work, we kind of do year after year.
What are your go-to the ones that you've found that you've done the
So
most consistent?
the one that we did for years at my mom Susie's house was very successful. We had probably like 150 on average people that would come to that one, and we would invite like 1,000 probably people.
Oh my God.
And it's very scary when you send out that invitation to that many people, like panicking that you're going to have a massive amount of people. But obviously, you don't get everyone that can come. So,
Yeah.
but still, having 150 people that don't all know each other that have a great time, like we would get either a band or a DJ, have it catered, and just kind of make it a really fun event for everybody. Where even if you didn't know other people, you're still going to have a good time. And there's so much overlap. St. Louis is kind of like a smaller big city. So
Mm.
it's funny how many people like run into friends or long lost high school buddy or something at our parties that end up knowing each other. So that's
How cool
always
is
been
that? Like that's like those little serendipitous moments. That's like, oh yeah, and it's like that becomes like the go-to party.
yes, yes. So those are always a lot of fun. And then we do a holiday hangout with Santa Claus. So we have him
Nice.
come do like pictures with the kids. We do like a mimosa bar, coffee, like boozy coffee. So even if you don't have kids or your kids are a little bit older, you could come hang out. We do a toy drive with that. And little like crafts and areas in the conference rooms. We do it at the Compass office actually, and just
Oh
kind of
wow.
clear out the whole main floor, and it's free for us to host it there. It doesn't really cost very much. I get the title company to co-sponsor it with us. So I
Yeah.
think that this year it cost me $500, which is
Brilliant.
great to be able to invite all of your clients to that for a very cheap event. And then I've rented out like a workout. I was at F45, so I rented that out and invited a bunch of friends to there, and just had like coffee in the morning. So sometimes they're smaller like that, where it's just a little bit more intimate. But it's funny, I had a friend who did not think at all she would be looking to sell, came to that and told me she wanted to sell one of her investment properties. So just you never know who is going to need real estate. So I think inviting not just your past clients, but friends. I invite like kids from my parents from my kids' daycare, just whoever is in your network or sphere, um, including them because you just never know.
I totally agree. I mean, you never know. Not only do you never know, but you also don't know who they know.
Right.
And in cities, in small cities,
Hmm.
people are really connected to a lot of random people.
That is how St. Louis is to a T. It's crazy how many connections. It's funny in St. Louis, people always say, like, the question is, what high school did you go to? And it's really more, in my opinion, it's because if we're around the same age and I went to an all girl high school. And if you went to the all boy high school around the same age, we probably have mutual friends. I'm sure that
Mm.
we have a lot of the same connections and know some people. So St. Louis is very fun like that, where you can definitely run into a lot of the same circles.
That's really cool. And I actually really like and appreciate that it's all hinged on relationship and
Hmm.
reputation. And it's like
Hmm.
if you're doing truly really good work out there and you're not just leaving a trail of broken glass and looking for the next transaction,
Yes.
you build something like this. And
Yes. And we
which is
definitely want clients for life. I mean, that is our goal, absolutely. People who we've had clients that send us their grandkids and their nieces and nephews, and we've probably done 20 transactions for people and their families, which, I mean, that says amazing things about just our team. And we're so grateful for that.
I, I totally like 1000% agree. There's absolutely 0% chance I'm going to recommend my niece or my sister or somebody super close to me to somebody that I don't fully trust.
Hmm.
Like it's never ever going to happen.
No.
Like I'm going to gatekeep that to like to the ends of the earth until
Yeah.
I'm able to find them like the absolute best person. So the second part of my question, which we're picking up from way earlier, is at what point did I know you're currently at about 95% of your business is referral, which is crazy high.
Yes,
At
last year and the year before, actually, we're both 95% referrals just from either past clients or business that those clients referred to us of their friends or family was, yes, 95%. And then, the other is advertising or just random. Hmm.
and so it was about the past 2 years is when
Hmm.
you hit that threshold of being in that
I would
upper
say we've
90.
probably been in the 90 percentile for the last maybe 10 years.
Mm.
So we've sort of just looking at those numbers, cutting back and trimming away some of the advertising. I feel like, as a real estate agent, you say, okay, I'm going to try this magazine. I'm going to try doing this. And it's like when you track where the business is coming from, you have to break away from just throwing money and seeing what sticks. So
Yeah,
for us, what sticks is spoiling our clients and spending money on them so that they want to refer us.
yeah.
And I think now that we've kind of realized that, we're just zoning in on it. And not to say that we aren't doing advertising because brand recognition, and that's always going to be important. But I think you kind of have to be smart about it. So,
I'm on the same page. There was, I don't know if this applies to all different markets, but
mhm,
there's in San Francisco, there was an etiquette where you, the buyer's agent would pay for the home warranty for the buyer,
mhm,
and it's usually in our market, it's like $400 to $500.
mhm,
And I remember being very early on, buying it for a couple people, and it was like a super casual, oh thanks, that they gave back to me, and I was
mhm.
like, that's kind of weird. Like it wasn't received at all
Yeah,
in
it
any
was.
capacity. And then I sat down one day and I was like, well, what if I took that $500 and I spread it out over a year and I spent $100 5 times and I sent them five really nice gifts. And then I similar to you in the Diamond Club, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about. And then I started unpacking. I'm like, well, what if I did it over 3 years and I broke it out or if I did like this like random frequency. And I basically through that whole thought process, within our team, we created the relationship marketing campaign
Okay.
and really thought about how do we approach them in different ways, be top
Mhm,
of mind, but be present, but do it in a way that's not kitschy. We're not
mhm.
just sending them a magnet that says we're number one and
Right.
it's about us and not them.
Things that
And
they
that's
appreciate.
yeah,
Yeah.
that they actually appreciate and receive. And it sounds like you had a similar epiphany when you created the Diamond Club, which
Yes.
makes
Yeah,
a lot
very,
of
very similar to what you're saying. So, but for us, instead of the client that closed with us, we still do closing gifts for them, but it's if we're given a referral, the person who gave us the referral, so they didn't buy or sell their home with us, but they gave us the referral. When
yeah,
that business closes, that person is entered into our Diamond Club. So we give them gifts once a month for a year. So sometimes it's
so
dropping
good.
off flowers at their house or a gift card to Starbucks or Amazon, just things like that that we typically mail, but sometimes we'll drop it off too. And then those people remember and they think like, oh my gosh, once a month for a year, you're being reminded
Yeah.
of. And then we have people that at the end of it, they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta find another referral. I want to stay in the Diamond Club.
I love
So
that. Do you do it when the referral is sent, or do you do it when the
we
referral
do
is
it when it
closed?
closes. So usually we'll send them a thank you when they send the referral, but just with the real estate cycle, it could take a year or sometimes they, by the time they actually find something and close. So usually it's when the business closes is when they are entered into the Diamond Club.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
That's such a cool, like each month you're just getting something, and it sounds like of good value. Like you're receiving flowers,
Yeah.
which they hang around for a while. You're looking at them, you get to enjoy them, which is
Yeah. And
great.
then they think about you when they see them. Yeah. So that's kind of fun.
It's such a genuinely, it's such a brilliant way to look at it. I think we glaze over the referral,
Hmm.
and especially if the referral's coming from an agent, we're typically paying for it
Hmm.
directly. If it's
Right.
coming from a client, we're not paying for it, and so we should pay for it. In
Hmm.
like in my mind, like we
Yeah. Show
should
them
be
our appreciation.
super
Yes.
appreciative of it
Because that they don't have to give your name. I mean, how easy for
at all.
them to just like move on and say, "Oh, you're looking for a real estate agent. Great, good luck."
Yeah,
But for them to like really try to sell us because they are basically our extended sales force. So for them to be
100%.
out there looking for business for us, one of my best friends, I bought and sold her houses, and she's like, "I got to get in your Diamond Club." So she sent me a couple referrals, and I think, one of them, it looks like it's going to be going through. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get in.
That's so. Do you also tell people, "Hey, you're now in the Diamond Club, and
Yes.
you'll
So
be
we
there"?
send them like a gold envelope with a little letter that says, congratulations, you've now been entered into our Diamond Club. Thank you for the referral. And we put the person's name on there and then sign it with our information. So every month they get the gold envelope. So it's kind of a fun little surprise. Nobody's going to just like throw away a gold envelope in the mail.
That's next level. I love that. We always do blue envelopes. Blue's the color
Oh,
of our
nice.
brand.
Okay.
And so similar, like
Yeah.
you don't throw out a blue envelope,
Yeah. Stands
especially if
out.
it's not shaped like a bill, like if it's
And
square,
handwritten too. I mean, it's not
always
very
handwritten.
often that we get handwritten notes anymore these days. So I think
We
it
have
just,
a hard rule. Any mailer that goes out, any mailer, it has to be handwritten.
oh my
Has to
gosh.
be.
Wow.
It's so labor intensive, but
Yeah, I
I
bet.
but I feel like it genuinely it's one of those little things that separates
Yes. Oh, I
you
love
from
that.
everybody else. That, and I mean, you just said it. No one gets handwritten mail. Like
No.
when you go to your mailbox and you flip through and you see the number 10 rectangular envelopes, you're like, Bill, 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 Bill. Oh, this is nice. And you see the handwritten. That, I guarantee you open that on the way back to your house. Like
Yes.
you're
It
walking
definitely
back up the
triggers.
drive. You're
Yeah.
like opening it and you're like, oh, what is this?
It's exciting. Especially, I mean, the month of December, people get holiday cards and things like that. But besides that, the other 11 months of the year, it's kind of rare that you get actual mail.
It's funny that you mention it. We actually don't do any big holiday cards. We do off holidays. So we
I love
do a New Year's card, not
that.
a
Okay.
Christmas card.
Yeah.
We'll do like a solstice card. We try to like zig when everybody else is zagging.
Yeah.
It's like like what's something
To
we can
stand
celebrate.
out. Hmm.
I think the other thing that a lot of agents overlook is there's one holiday that only we share and celebrate with our clients, and that's the day they purchase their home.
House anniversary. Yes.
Do you go big on that day with them?
So we actually haven't in the past, but we
Mhm.
are making a spreadsheet right now of
Nice.
adding the house anniversary to go through every year. And my sister actually gave me this idea, but doing a market review for them every
Hmm.
year on
Hmm.
their house anniversary and doing like the Compass pitch books that we have, like the nice black book, and then giving them a nice gift with
Yeah.
that and dropping it off at their house. So I just like the idea of something a little bit more personal and dropping it off with a gift. Do you guys do something?
We actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. We do this, we basically do the pitch book, but
Okay.
we don't do a home evaluation. We just do, this is what's sold in your neighborhood.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And I avoid putting any price in there
Mm,
because I don't know what the market is, and I
right.
don't know what they've actually changed with their property.
Hmm.
So I just like, here's basically a year in review,
Hmm.
and so pick out some of the highs and lows of the
Hmm.
past year, and then it's just a really, it's a note specific to them, like, I can't believe it's been 5 years since you purchased your home. I hope you love it as much as today, as much as you did the day you purchased it.
Yes.
And just like no pitch, nothing, and then attached is a little packet to just give you an idea of what the market's doing. And I
Hmm.
tell my clients early on, like, I'll share updates with them on
Hmm.
how the market's performing, or like these the neighborhood reviews. But I tell them that, like, I'm not expecting you to sell. I'm just sharing it so you have the information. It's much like looking at a stock. Like, you look
Hmm.
at it to have an idea of the direction it's going, even if you don't want to buy or sell any today. And
Yes.
that's, I try to position it more of like, it's just news. Like, I'm
Yes.
not here to pitch you
Keeping them
anything.
informed. This is what's happening. We call it their real estate portfolio so that they have a better
Exactly.
understanding of what's happening in their market or their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we do that randomly for clients. We actually use the Compass Likely to Sell to
Hmm.
deliver those as well. We just started doing that last year, which Likely to Sell is amazing. I don't know if you guys have been using those either, but those are great.
The other little trick that we do is, when somebody's looking to buy a home, they're obviously on a search and they're getting updates all the time.
Hmm.
The moment they go into escrow, we switch it so they're only getting an update once a month,
Okay.
and then they're seeing everything that's sold that matches the profile of the property. So if they got into contract on a 4 bedroom 2 bath,
Hmm.
which is a weird count, but for a 4.3,
Hmm.
and it was like in this specific neighborhood and in this price range, we'll adjust it so it matches the neighborhood, matches the price range. And
Okay.
then moving forward, once a month, they're just getting a quick update. And the same thing, it's like,
Hmm.
just so you can keep track of how the neighborhood is trending. We do that though because the city, on a national average, people live in their homes for 14 years. In San Francisco, it's 7. In condos in San Francisco, it's about 3.
Wow.
And so the likelihood of them wanting to move in a pretty short time is
Hmm.
high. So
Hmm.
that's why we went with
Keeping
that
them,
strategy.
yeah, keeping them on that drip is smart.
And it sounds like, and I want to change gears a little bit.
Mhm.
The other huge pocket of referrals for you and your team, they actually come way of Instagram.
We have gotten some from Instagram, and a lot of it too is Compass agents that we've networked with and reached out to. So, and I think they start as just, you know, more of a cold introduction, maybe from an
Mm.
agent in another city, but then just following them and commenting, liking on their posts. I feel like you're kind of building a relationship with them, and that's one of the best things about Compass. All the agents that I've met just in the company as a whole love to network with other Compass agents. So I think you're missing out if you're not really diving into that. So, and you don't have to go to all the events. You don't have to go to retreat every year. You don't have to do all the things and spend money. You can literally do it for free with Instagram and Facebook. So,
Yeah.
workplace too is another area where, in the beginning, when we first joined Compass, I was a lot more active on there, and it can be a little bit time consuming because you have to scroll through a lot of things in other markets. But agents that I know put my name out there when they're kind of like working for you.
Yeah.
So when someone would say, "Hey, we need an agent in St. Louis," or "Do you know someone in St. Charles County?" I would have agents in California say, "Yeah, you got to call Lindsey Jacobs." And then if you're on it and you respond right away and reach out or call or text that agent on the side, not just reply back on Workplace,
Yeah.
then you're kind of establishing that relationship with them a little bit quicker. So that was really helpful too.
I agree. Actually, Jason Rowland, who introduced us, a
Yes.
strategy that he does, which I love, is let's say he sees on Facebook somebody's like, "Hey, I need an agent in San Francisco." He'll go and find that person's phone number, text them, and add me to it, and say, "Hey, Steve, I saw your post on Facebook. I wanted to introduce you to Shawn. He services XYZ, blah blah
Yeah,
blah,"
that's
and like totally tease it
amazing.
up in like a much deeper way.
Yes.
Um,
If you can move it off of workplace and get to a text message or a phone call, I feel like your chances of getting that referral are going to be so much greater. Yeah.
I completely agree because,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you've done it too. You put it
Mhm.
on there and you just get blown up.
Bombarded.
It's
Yes.
crazy. It's like no joke. You get like 50 messages on the platform,
Yes.
but no one. It's weird. I mean, it's even our cultural norm is like don't.
Yeah.
No one picks up the phone. Like pick up the
Yeah.
phone and call. Like just be
Right.
like, hey, I'm so and so. I just wanted to introduce myself. I know you're looking for X, Y, and Z.
Yes. And I think even with like text message, we started doing a e-business card. So if I'm
Mm,
reaching out to another agent that I maybe don't know, I send them like a little JPEG of our e-business card with my picture on it and our team name, our Instagram handle, just because it's so much easier when you can put a face with a number rather than just like a random text message from an agent in another city. So that's been helpful too.
completely agree. It's so funny. Um, it's being in this seat, and I want to say now you're my 100 and I don't know, but I think I'm at about 105 guests at this
Oh
point,
wow.
which is incredible.
Yeah, that's
But
amazing.
the funny thing is, and you all don't even talk to each other, but you all do the same stuff.
Isn't that
Like you,
funny?
there's like little tweaks, but there's 100% these amazing common threads and very nuanced. Like that e card, that's very nuanced, and it's like those top performers like yourself.
Mhm.
They do those little things, and it's super cool from my seat
Yeah,
to
you probably get
see.
to hear all the fun tips that everybody's doing because it's not, we're not recreating the wheel, but no
You're
one
not.
gave us a handbook of here's how to be successful in real estate. You just have to kind of figure it out. It's trial and error. Things work
Exactly.
and you do them again. They don't work, you don't do it again. So, yeah, getting tips from other agents throughout Compass in the company has been very beneficial to us over the
Yeah.
last couple of years that we've been with Compass as well. And that's one of the best parts about it because we're not competing with each other. You might go
Yeah.
to an event in St. Louis with other agents and it's idea sharing, and the Compass agents in St. Louis love sharing ideas with each other.
Yeah.
But I think you get on a much deeper level and a deeper dive when you're sharing with someone in Chicago or LA, like what's working for you in your market versus the people in your own city. So it's nice
Yeah.
having that outside perspective too.
Yeah. Like you and I are never, ever going to compete. Period.
Yeah,
Like
right.
there's, and so if I can help you, and then that opportunity comes up, even 5 years down the line, where there's a
Mhm.
referral opportunity, that's amazing. Like
Yeah,
that's a
absolutely.
job well done. With that, and I appreciate the whole setup for it. Is like almost like we planned this, but we have the inner circle group, which now that you've been a guest on the show, you're
Yes.
officially invited to
I'm
it.
excited.
It's
I heard
it's
good
uh
things.
it's so
I'm not
amazing.
quite sure
It's
how to help you with that.
basically I've collected all of the guests, and we get together 2 times a month and we do this. We talk about events. All right, everybody unpack what's the top 3 events that you've done and what were the two that you mucked up and you'll never do again.
Yeah.
And then we can all collectively take that and then improve. If we can all improve 1% the next time we do something,
Yeah.
it's we're all getting better together. So
Love that.
welcome to the club. You're
Thank
officially
you.
in.
I'm so excited.
But let's go back to Instagram. I want to talk about that a little bit more. And that too is nuanced. I feel like you said something that was really super important that a lot of people glaze over, especially new agents,
Mhm.
is they think that you go to Instagram to pick up buyers and sellers, and you don't. And you
Mhm.
even said it. You said you go and build these relationships with agents.
Mhm.
And so tell me more about your strategy around that. Do you pick specific people? Do you go after certain areas? How do you strategically approach it?
So when I first started, it was kind of more area based. Maybe St. Louis, I would say we have some feeder markets. So Chicago, Kansas City, sometimes Texas, but a lot to Florida as well.
Oh,
So
really?
a lot of people from St. Louis do 30A for like spring break. They do the Gulf Coast. I've just found a lot of people from the East Coast tend to go on the east side of Florida, where St. Louis sort of sticks to the Gulf side, which I'm not sure why that is. I mean, people they definitely do both sides, but focusing on those markets where I think I can send business to and who could potentially send
Mhm.
business back to St. Louis as well. I mean, obviously, we get lots of relocation and people from all over the country, but those are kind of our main markets, I would say, where we get a lot of referral business from. So just looking into agents in those markets and then following them, messaging them, introducing myself, and then just liking their posts, commenting on them so that they're seeing you. It's one thing to follow someone and send them a message one time, but I think if you become a presence where, they say, oh my gosh, we had our best year, and you're like, congratulations, that's amazing. And they see who you are, and they're going to look at your page too and see what you're doing. So I think being active on Instagram and not just like scrolling and to scroll, being intentional about it and actually liking and commenting on people's posts. And I actually do the same thing with my clients. So once um, clients and friends too, just following them, liking them if they have a baby. And maybe it's not commenting on there, but it's sending them a text message or mailing them a letter. But I
Yes.
use social media as a way to gather the information. And then I try to reach out to people based off of the information that I gathered. If they're graduating or if they had a baby or got married, whatever it is, using that information to just have a reason to touch base with them.
I love that you said that. We use from a client perspective,
Mhm.
we use it to look for trigger events. Like
Yes.
if somebody has a baby, they'll usually put the name of the child on there, and then
Mhm.
we anytime somebody has a new baby, if they're a past client like really close to us, we'll sometimes send them like a week's worth of prepared meals
Oh, that's a great
because
idea.
obviously they're buried
Right.
in chaos for
Yeah.
the first little bit. And then if they're not like super close connections, we send them Bombas socks
Oh,
as
cute.
another
Yeah.
one of our go tos, which they're just super comfortable
Yeah.
socks.
That's a great idea.
Um, and but there's also the unfortunate like somebody has a passing in their life and
Mhm.
send them a sympathy card. Like
Mhm.
that goes a long way.
It does.
Graduations, like I think again, as we shared with going from workplace or
Mhm.
Facebook for referrals and then switching context and calling or texting or doing
Mhm.
something different. Same with social media. If you see it on
Mhm.
social media, send them a card. It strikes people in a very different way.
It does. And I think, Facebook, everybody, their birthdays are out there now. So it's very easy.
Super easy.
Basically, probably 90% of people or more, their birthday now. So I try to steer away from just saying happy birthday on Facebook and either call them or text them like a funny emoji or an old picture or just something to kind of, brighten their day because if you get 100 messages on Facebook for your birthday, you're probably not even paying attention to who said it. So I think just making it
It's
stand
true.
out and making it feel a little bit more important, I think, makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, one of the things that we always try to do within the team is step back and be on
Hmm.
the receiving side of it.
Hmm.
It's like next time for your birthday, observe how you feel. Like if you get
Hmm.
blown up with 100 messages on Facebook versus that person who calls you and leaves you a voicemail or sends you a video. There's an
Yes.
agent in the East Bay every year. I'm like casual friends with him. Every year he sends me a video on my
Oh,
birthday,
that's
and
so,
it stands out. Like it stands
yeah.
out to the point where I'm sharing it with you right
Yeah.
now
Right.
of like, oh, it's so different.
That he took the time to do that
And it's
makes
like,
you
hey
feel
man,
so
like
special.
I just like want to take a minute and wish you a happy birthday. Hope you have a great year. That's it. Like move
Yeah.
along.
Ah,
Um, and
that's great.
but on the flip side, anytime somebody's moving to that area, I always think
Hmm.
of him first. Always.
Hmm.
Because I know he goes it's a difference between saying you go above and beyond and then showing you go above and beyond.
Right.
And it's like these little things that you do, it's they separate you.
Hmm. And just staying top of mind. I mean, I think that's the name of the game for us as real estate agents. When they think like I'm going to buy or sell or someone else is going to buy or sell, we have to be top of mind. So if you don't put yourself out there, if you just show up to the office and sit there at your desk all day every day and don't connect with people, the business isn't going to keep coming back to you. So it's a matter of constantly staying in touch with people, making them feel good about themselves so that they think of you.
100%. And you can't show up on the flip side and be like, hey, you ready to buy or sell? How about now? Are you ready
Yeah,
now? How about now? Or do you have a referral for me? Hey, are you
right.
ready? That was at the core of this entire podcast was to build a referral network. That was
Mm-hmm.
the whole core of it. But selfishly, I'm incredibly curious. And it created an opportunity for me to talk to people and
Yeah.
learn their their amazing secrets of how they've built their business, and it affords me this just incredibly amazing opportunity. But then on
Yeah.
the flip side, I have all these amazing messages I can share and help everybody else, and ultimately we can change the business for
Mm-hmm.
the better, to be more relational and less transactional because of it.
And like you said, it's not like you're calling people saying, "Hey, are you ready to buy or sell?" It's just staying in front of them and being a friend or, being a resource for them. I like to think of myself as a connector. So
Yeah.
when I'm in networking groups that I started, and I have contractors, I have vendors for everything. So when my clients or my friends need a painter, I love that they call me, and they haven't bought or sold a house with me in 5 years, but they're like, "Hey, I need a carpet cleaning company. Hey, I need a window cleaner." And I have someone, and I
Yeah.
love being that person for them that they can use as a resource because they know that I'm going to have somebody.
Yeah. It's funny. I know what you mean. I love that. I love that feeling too. That I love that I still have the connection with them, and I love that they trust me.
Hmm.
5, 6, 7 years down the road,
Hmm.
to be like, hey, like this thing broke, and I need somebody to come fix it right now. Do you have somebody? I
Hmm.
love that I get the call first,
Yes.
not Google or Yelp or
Right.
anywhere else.
Yes. And I try to tell my clients that too when we're going through the process. Like, do not Google something. Make sure that like
I
our
say the same
contractors
thing.
are vetted. We've used them, or our friends, our family have used them, and we trust them. I mean, you don't want some random contractor coming in and, who knows what they're going to do or leave at your house. So, yeah, that's so important to be a resource, I think, for clients for that.
100%. And I want to go back. I want to kind of back up a little bit and
Hmm.
talk about your Instagram strategy. And I really appreciate that you said don't just follow them and like them one time.
Hmm.
I I think if I can summarize,
Hmm.
it sounds like almost treat them like an actual lead,
Hmm.
where you're revisiting them and hanging out with them and staying in front of them and commenting on their posts and engaging with them.
Yeah, and
And it,
sometimes even just setting up a call too,
yeah,
because like just like this, where you really get to know someone on a deeper level, and you're going to remember who that person was. I
yeah,
think with Instagram, sometimes it gets lost in what was the name of their company or who was that person. But if you actually like take it away from that platform and are texting or have a phone call or do a Zoom call over coffee or something, they're going to remember you and you're going to remember them and have an actual relationship. So when that referral comes up, you can say, "Oh yeah, I know them. Like they also play pickleball or they're a great golfer," or you kind of like have that common ground that you can set them up with your client.
I really love that you keep going back to that, is like changing the context
Mhm.
and approaching people in a different way. I feel
Mhm.
like that's such an important piece and component, because we get complacent, we get lazy,
Mhm.
we do the easy. Like, I see it on this platform, so I'll respond on this platform. That's
Mhm.
easy. It's
Mhm.
hard to go look up their phone number, put it into your phone, and then shoot them a text. That's hard. It's harder
Mhm.
to actually call them. It's
Mhm.
harder to invite them to coffee and sit with them. It's harder to go to lunch. And so I think, if to your point, if it's like you change the context and do the thing that's less easy,
Mhm.
it's way better and way more rewarding and way more fulfilling.
Mhm. And you just build that connection that you otherwise probably wouldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, again, I think that's especially in light of the commissions decoupling,
Mhm.
that is the thing that's going to separate agents from the
Absolutely.
top from the bottom, is going to
Mhm.
be it's going to be the relationship. It's that person who, again, they live in the property, they live there for a handful of years, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to call Lindsay because,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not because they want to buy or sell, but it's because that tree looks like it's going to fall over and they need somebody to look at it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
they call you as that resource.
Yes, and they're trusting us with their biggest asset. So, I mean, buying a house can be a very emotional experience. So,
Yeah.
we have to be that trusted advisor. We're a therapist sometimes, but being there for your clients when they're kind of going through a roller coaster of emotions, we see the highs and the lows with them. So,
Yeah.
making sure that they know they can trust you during the process and after the process, I think it means so much, and it goes a long way.
I completely agree, and I feel it goes back to the earliest part of this conversation with events, is
Hmm.
because we know. I mean, it's documented everywhere that moving, buying, and selling a home, and people passing in your lives are of the most stressful events you're going to take on
Yes.
as a human. And so, if somebody's hanging out with you at an event, different context than buying and selling a home, and they're
Hmm.
getting an idea, a sense of who you are, and you can pick up a lot from a person
Hmm.
being in their presence for 30 seconds.
Hmm.
They will know if they want to ever work with you or not.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like, and that's again, like, not to lean on it, but that's
Hmm.
where the events are really going to just separate. They're going to separate the pack.
And we started, let's see, 3 years ago when we joined Compass, we did a launch party here at the office. So
Yeah.
we invited everybody again and rented out like the whole space. And we got a bunch of Yeti mugs that had our logo on it. So, oh, you got one too. Yes. We gave those away to everyone at the party. And that was like their drink for the night. So they were drinking out
Mm.
of our Yeti mugs at the party. And then obviously they take it home as their swag. But it was so fun, the amount of like thank yous and pictures of them like on their boat or just wherever they were that they brought their mug with them. So that was great.
Lindsay, it's so bizarre talking to you. I like the amount of weird parallels. Like I usually have parallels with a lot of my guests, but I feel like you and I have like really weird, nuanced
Oh, that's
parallels.
so funny.
We threw a garden party and did the same thing. We
Oh,
gave
no
everybody
way.
branded cups,
Oh my
and so
gosh.
everybody walked around with a cup, which they took home at the end of the night. And
Yes.
that was the same. Like I'm all about having things that you don't throw away. And
Yes.
so we always try to look for like what's really good, high quality, where you use it and you enjoy using it, but you
Yes.
also don't want to lose it or
You're
throw it
not
away.
gonna throw it away or give it away. Because we used to do that and like get the cheaper mug that, the $8 one from wherever with our logo on it. And yes, people were, appreciative of it. But
Yeah.
at the party, they're like, "Are you serious? Like, we get to take this Yeti, like, this is for us?" And we were like, "Yeah, of course." So they were thrilled with it. But
Yeah, and Yeti, not to plug them, and obviously neither one of us
yeah.
are getting paid for it, but they make it incredibly easy. You upload
Mhm.
it, you pay a flat
Oh,
fee, and it's super simple. So we get the blue because that's
okay.
our branding, but we get the coffee mug, and then as a closing gift, they get a new doormat that has our logo on it.
We do the
Um,
doormat. That's
do
so
you
cool.
really? They get a really nice branded apron, like
Oh, that's
super, super high
cool.
quality.
Yeah.
They get a couple mugs, and then there's a local roaster that their coffee's like phenomenal. And that's
Nice.
their first gift that we give them
Okay.
for closing.
Oh, that's great.
And we actually got away from champagne because a lot of
Mhm.
our clients are dry. And,
Okay.
and so we didn't, instead of asking or taking the risk, I feel like
Yeah.
coffee's a little bit
Yeah.
more,
That's
it's more like common.
yeah.
Um,
That's so smart. So
Funny
we
enough, when you were talking about agents relocating to Florida, I was thinking I'd love to introduce you to Brian Knox, if you don't know him. And then,
I
funny
do.
enough, he's actually calling me right
Oh,
now.
that's hilarious. He sold
Um,
my parents' house in Florida a couple years ago.
Small world. He's
It
such a
is.
good guy. Him and his brother, they're just like
Yeah.
such amazing guys.
He's actually, you had mentioned like the markets people are coming from. They did this research and had they came to St. Louis and presented to our office because so many people relocate and buy second homes from
Yeah.
St. Louis to Naples. So now that you mention it, that's so funny. Such a
That
small
is
world.
hilarious, and it's
Yeah.
funny that he was calling me.
Yeah. That's
Um,
funny.
I know that he and his brother went and toured the different offices. I actually have an idea for you if you ever do that same
Yeah.
thing. We could talk about it off layer. I actually
Yeah.
wrote myself a note because I was like, oh my God. Like, I felt like you touched on something so good during this, but I didn't want to like spill the beans to the
Yeah.
everybody listening.
Yeah. So I also, one other thing I didn't talk about when I
Mm.
travel quite a bit, like with my husband for his business trips or just Compass retreats or wherever it is. But I make a point to find a Compass agent in that location and just see if I can grab coffee or just meet people face to face while I'm in that market. So doesn't always work out, but it's actually, I happened to do that with an agent in Newport Beach, and like a couple weeks later, she sent me a referral through Marketplace.
Love
So
it.
our workplace, yeah.
I yeah, and it's weird. It's at top of mind.
Hmm.
Like it floats back up, and it'll take a few minutes out of your day. But the other really cool thing, because I do the same thing, if you're in a market that you've never been before, and you sit down and you have coffee, ask them, "Hey, what's your favorite restaurant? Like, where's
Hmm.
like a really cool park, or like what's one thing we shouldn't miss while we're here?" And you'll
Yeah,
get like
yeah.
really amazing
Great tip.
insider tips for that
Great
area.
tip. Yeah, no, that's so smart too. Yeah, absolutely.
Lindsay, this has been just a really refreshing conversation. I appreciate it, but unfortunately, we're out of time.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Of
So much good
course, you're welcome
stuff.
back anytime.
Thank you.
And that is a wrap.